So, I can think of no way to get to the next film at all, so The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Scott.
Was not Diego Maradona, at the end of the day, a man? Right.
Does he not speak Spanish?
Yes, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. There's a history to this film, a long one. So much so that if we delve into it, we'd be here all day, and we've covered a lot of that previously when we were talking about Lost in La Mancha back in our Films on Film episode. So let's just say that it's storied and full of disappointment for Terry Gilliam. It's a pleasure then that it's finally finished, and yet somehow unsurprising that legal wrangling entirely ruined its release. The full story is much more complex, but so is the plot summary, so we'll crack on with that. Hollywood's favourite entirely computer-generated character, Adam Driver, here plays Toby Grizzoni, an obnoxious commercial director, struggling to shoot an ad featuring Don Quixote and Sancho Panza out in the Spanish sticks. He's lorded over by the boss, Stellan Skarsgård, and lusted after by the boss's wife, Olga Kurylenko's Jackie. Chancing upon an exceedingly rare copy of a student film he shot in a small village in the area some 10 years ago called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, Toby's inspired to head over and see what's happened there since then. It is not altogether positive on a number of levels, or any level really, but chiefly the concern here is about noted non-Spaniard Jonathan Pryce's shoemaker Javier, who now believes himself to be the Don Quixote that Toby cast him as all those years ago. Through some hijinks that would, I feel, be a little too convoluted to explain, Toby finds himself a suspect in a police investigation into a fire he and Javier unwittingly caused, and winds up on the run with Javier, who believes Toby to be his squire, Sancho Panza. In a combination of flashbacks, real-time and fever dreams, we will tease out more of these characters and the events of all involved, particularly Toby's involvement with Joanna Ribero's Angelica, a young girl at the time of the previous film that's had a troubled life since, now finding herself in an abusive relationship with the very same Russian magnate that Toby's boss is trying to ingratiate himself with. Now, it took me a little while to warm to this film, to be honest. Maybe the first half hour, 45 minutes, I was kind of fearing the worst, but in what appears to be the inverse of most critical opinions, the longer and more outlandish it got, the more invested I got with this. And while it's not the masterpiece that the gestation period that this would perhaps demand that it be, if it wasn't to be disappointing, it's nonetheless a very solidly enjoyable film. Pryce and Driver are excellent, as are all the supporting cast, and as you'd perhaps expect from Gilliam, his imagination conjures up some exceptional imagery. I do feel a little cheated about not having had a chance to see this in a cinema. I think more than any number of blockbusters we've seen in the past few years, this would have benefited from a grander canvas than my telly can provide, given how the epic sweeps of the story and landscape are combined. Now, I shan't wither on too much other than to say that by then my doubts were vanquished and I was quite touched by the ending. Certainly it's one of the most distinctive films I've seen this year, and a must-see for anyone interested in Gilliam's body of work. Now, of course, it would have been regardless of quality, but I'm pleased to report that it's a pleasure and not a chore to get through it. Took a bit of a slow start, but it got there in the end. I was quite enjoying it by the end of the film. As I say, with this much weight of expectation and 20 years of history behind it, is to the degree it was always going to underdeliver on that promise. But nonetheless, still quite an enjoyable film. It's not one of Gilliam's best, to be honest, but it's certainly pretty good. Yeah,
I'm largely in agreement with Scott, and I was a little trepidatious about this because, again, of the bad reviews that had come out after its release at Cannes, and I thought, there's always a thing of, like, you've waited so long for this, you know the story behind this, having seen Lost in La Mancha, and like, it can't possibly live up to that.
Yeah.
And I'm worried it would just be an absolute mess.
Yeah.
But it's not. It suffers perhaps a little from being a little autobiographical, perhaps, which is not the word I'm looking for, but it'll do.
Yeah.
And that it's a bit sort of kind of self-referential. There are clearly references to his troubles making it.
Yes.
They're not too frequent, though. So, I mean, it could have been a problem, but I don't think it is. I was just aware of them,
yes, rather
than being bothered by them. And there are a few lines that are very on the nose. I'm sure that line near the end about when Stellan Skarsgård says that it's the only month of the year, basically you're guaranteed no rain or something.
Yes,
like
yes.
I'm sure that's a reference to
yeah.
his production being washed out by rain, which is basically what killed it.
Yeah.
And that's what set the ball rolling of everything going wrong there. His first attempt to make this. So yeah, there's maybe one or two moments too many of that, but for the most part it's fine. It's just if you don't know the backstory, I think you probably don't get that, so it probably isn't a problem. Beyond that, it's just really entertaining. There are a couple of moments of kind of sketchy CGI, one right near the start actually, when Adam Driver's filming his commercial, when his his original Don Quixote gets taken up by the windmill, and I thought, that looks really dodgy, that's bad CGI. And then I immediately followed that with, I thought, I bet Scott's going to make a reference about Adam's driver being CGI. Wasn't disappointed, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, everybody in it's really good as well. Jonathan Pryce, actually, I think does a really good job. I'm not convinced by Spanish accent, but actually, just like, his performance is really good. And then there's enough clear study has gone into that he sort of mispronounces just enough sounds in his English that is absolutely believable as the occasional mistake a Spanish speaker speaking English would make. So there's just enough of them to just make that. There's a wee ring of authenticity there. It's like, and at the very least, you appreciate the work that's gone into it.
Yeah.
You hear something like that. It's not like because it's so easy to do the kind of like joke Italian accent or something like that. But no, this has had a lot more thought and work put into it. It's like just the occasional syllable or sound will just be just wrong and pronounced more like Spanish than English, and they're peppered here and there. And I like the care that's gone into that.
Yes.
Adam Driver's really, really good, which is, probably the best CGI character since Gollum.
Yes.
So it's not brilliant. You're right, it's not Terry Gilliam's best work, though far from his worst. It's generally a very entertaining film, and I really enjoyed watching it.
It's a lovely little shaggy dog story.
It's not got anything to say, I don't think. It's more like a flight of fancy, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's very entertaining. So, yeah, definitely a good one for that.